In the summer of 1959, divers descended into the blackest lake in the Austrian Alps and hauled up a locked wooden crate. Inside, millions of British pounds, perfectly preserved, and every single note was fake. They were printed by prisoners, men who understood that the day they finished the job was the day they would die. Because this money was a weapon, a plan to destroy Britain without firing a single shot. Not with explosives, with paper. The Bank of England examined these forgeries and declared them genuine. They were so perfect that the only defense left was to kill the real banknote. And for nearly 20 years, Britain simply stopped printing them. There are still crates at the bottom of that lake. A diver has already died looking for them. And the man who ran the whole operation never spent a day in prison. This is the story of the biggest counterfeiting operation in history, and of the forgers who sabotaged it from the inside. September 1939. Germany and Britain have been at war for 2 weeks when a proposal lands on a desk in Berlin. It asks for no tanks, no submarines. It asks a question: what if you could make an enemy's money worthless? The plan was simple and monstrous. Flood Britain with fake £5 notes scattered from aircraft high over English towns so that ordinary people would find them and spend them. Every fake note passing through a shop would poison the till it landed in until no grocer, no banker, no soldier could trust the money in his own pocket. Inflation, delivered like a bomb. There was just one problem. The British £5 note was considered unforgeable, handmade rag paper no machine could imitate, a watermark of impossible subtlety, serial numbers built on a hidden system no outsider had ever cracked. The first attempt collapsed, and the project was quietly shelved. Then, in 1942, it came back, under a man whose solution was chilling. He would not hire the best forgers in Europe. He would imprison them. His name was Bernhard Kruger, a major in the SS, and the operation would carry his name. Kruger combed the concentration camps for a very particular kind of prisoner: printers, engravers, paper chemists, bank clerks, and one professional counterfeiter, Salomon Smolyanov, a master forger the police of half of Europe had hunted for years. 142 Jewish prisoners sealed into 2 walled-off barracks at Sachsenhausen, blocks 18 and 19. Inside that wall stood the strangest prison in the Reich. Clean beds, real coffee, cigarettes, even a ping-pong table, and every man inside could do the arithmetic. They were carriers of a state secret, and secrets like this one are not left alive when the work ends, which meant their only survival strategy was the work itself. Be essential, be slow, in ways no one can see, and never ever finish. Their first assignment, the banknote the Bank of England called impossible. They broke it piece by piece. The paper first. British notes were rag paper, linen-based. So the workshop matched the fiber, then aged it, sheet by sheet, until it felt used. The watermark took months of trial and error. The serial numbers took mathematics, reconstructing the bank's hidden numbering system so every fake carried a number that could genuinely exist. By 1943, the presses were producing tens of thousands of notes a month, sorted like diamonds. The flawless ones went to Swiss banks and foreign agents. The good ones went to occupied Europe. The flawed ones were stockpiled for the day they would rain from the sky. And then the ultimate test. German agents pushed the best notes through Switzerland and asked London itself to verify them. The Bank of England inspected its enemy's work and pronounced it real. In under 3 years, the workshop printed nearly 9 million notes, £134 million, more than 10% of all the British currency in existence. The most trusted money on earth had been quietly duplicated. And then the plan changed. The airdrop never happened. By 1943, the Luftwaffe had no aircraft to spare for confetti. So the fake pounds went to war a quieter way, laundered through a smuggling network that stretched across Europe. They bought gold, weapons, silence. When Germany's most valuable spy, a valet inside the British embassy in Ankara, codenamed Cicero, demanded a fortune for photographed secrets, Berlin paid him £300,000 in counterfeit notes. The Reich's greatest agent cheated by his own employer. Then came a new order from Berlin. Next, the American dollar. And here the prisoners began their quietest, most dangerous work. The dollar proved difficult. Chemicals failed. Test sheets tore. Plates cracked. Smolyanov, a man who could forge anything, delivered problem after problem after problem, because every month of failure was another month of being alive. By the time a passable $100 bill finally existed, it was 1945. The Reich was collapsing, the presses stopped, and the order came down from Berlin: erase everything. In the last weeks of the war, the workshop vanished in days. Machines, plates, and crates of money were loaded onto trucks and driven south into the Alps. The prisoners were shipped the same direction, and they knew exactly what evacuation meant for the carriers of a state secret. They were gathered toward a camp called Ebensee to be eliminated together. And then the perfect machine broke. One truck in the convoy failed, the schedule slipped. In the chaos of the war's final hours, the guards deserted, and the counterfeiters melted into a crowd of thousands of other prisoners. When American soldiers arrived days later, the men of blocks 18 and 19 were still there. All of them. Every one of the 142 survived the war. The money was not supposed to survive either. Trucks wound up a narrow mountain road to a lake called Toplitz, 100 meters deep, black as ink, walled in by cliffs. Crate after crate went over the side and vanished. The Reich died that week. The money didn't. London had known about the fakes since '43, and its response tells you how good they were. The Bank of England stopped issuing every note above £5. Then it retired the white fiver itself, a design nearly 200 years old. Britain would not print a £10 note again until 1964. The forgery was so perfect that the only cure was to abolish the real thing. The Lake kept its secret for 14 years. Then, in 1959, a German news magazine sent divers down, and up came the crates, bundles of fake pounds, and, better still, the operation's own records. In 1963, a young diver chasing rumors of sunken Nazi gold died in the dark water, and the Austrian government swept the lake for a month. In 2000, the company that explored the wreck of the Titanic sent its equipment down and found still more. And Bernhard Kruger? Arrested, questioned, released. never convicted of anything. Some of his former prisoners even gave statements on his behalf, because, whatever his reasons, he had kept them alive. He spent his later years working, of all places, for a paper company. But the deepest legacy of Operation Bernhard isn't his story. One of the forgers, a Slovak typographer named Adolf Berger, kept his prisoner's uniform, kept the evidence, and spent the rest of his long life telling the story, until it became a film, The Counterfeiters, and won an Academy Award. But the real lesson sits deeper. Operation Bernhard proved something no textbook had ever dared to say so plainly. Money is not paper. Money is not even gold. Money is trust, wearing a paper disguise. A banknote is a promise, and a perfect forgery is a lie told in the one language everyone on Earth believes. That is why the plan terrified Britain more than bombs did. A bombed factory can be rebuilt in a year. Belief cannot. And that is why, to this day, nations guard their currency like a weapon, because it is one. Somewhere at the bottom of Lake Toplitz, in mud too deep for any diver, the last crates are still lying in the dark. Every few decades, someone goes looking. The lake gives up a little more paper and keeps the rest. Because a banknote is a story a country tells about itself. And down there, in the cold and the black, lies the closest anyone ever came to stealing the story itself.